Right, good afternoon everybody. My name is David Eagle at One Spatial, and welcome to today's FME training session. We're going to run for about an hour, and we're going to be covering the topic what's new in FME 2012. Those of you that have been using FME for a little while know that typically there is one release of FME, one major release of FME each year. This year's FME 2012 was launched in January. So we're about halfway through the year, which means that there have been a couple of service packs released. Actually, FME 2012 Service Pack 3 was released just yesterday, so you can go and get that from our website, and I'll give you the URL in a little while. But as I say, thank you for joining today's session. This is one of a series of webinars that we've been delivering over the course of the last few months, and we have a few more scheduled going into the future. But for now, we'll take a look at the content of the session. I'm going to briefly give you an overview of One Spatial and the relationship we have with Safe Software. And then we're going to break into some technical demonstrations looking at the operational and platform improvements that have happened in the latest iteration of the software. We'll take a look at some of the new formats and certainly some of the format upgrades that have been applied to FME, as well as the new transformers and upgrades that have also happened in that area. We'll also look at some of the performance capabilities and changes that have happened, and that will focus around a capability called multi-processing, which is actually a bit of a big deal, actually, as far as I believe it's concerned in FME. It gives us a new bit of capability that is very interesting to focus on. And then there's a couple of special interest areas we'll take a look at, which are related to XML and also LiDAR. So lots to pack into this session. The session is generally organised in that order, which means that there will be breakpoints along the way indicated by blue slides. Those blue slides will give you the opportunity to type in a question if you'd like to in the chat window. Alternatively, what we will do is open up the mic at the end of the session, so if anybody wants to have a chat about anything from today's session or anything else you'd like to ask, then we can do that over the voice connection if required. We're going to group block your microphones for the time being, just so that there's no feedback, but we'll open them up again at the end. If you have any problems with seeing the session or hearing anything at any point throughout the session, please just drop us a note in the chat window. So, to start then, just a little bit about One Spatial. We've been around since 1969, and we've got offices in the UK. Our head office in Cambridge. We've got offices in Ireland and also in Australia. And really our focus is around data and data quality. We've worked with a number of organisations over the years, and just a few of them are, you can see some logos for there. Certainly one of the areas of our expertise is around working with national mapping agencies. So those of you who are familiar with data sets from the Ordnance Survey or Ordnance Survey Ireland or OSNI themselves will know that some of the data that you're using has gone through some of our rules and expertise to improve the quality of it and get it into a fit state for publication. We've worked with a lot of other organisations though, and certainly on the FME front we are working with an array of different businesses in both the public and private sector, as well as the third sector, to do data ETL, extract, transform and load. And that really is through our relationship with Safe Software, which has been in place for over 10 years now. The product that comes from Safe Software is called FME. There's two products, FME Desktop and FME Server. We'll be focusing today on FME Desktop largely. And it's a product that really has carved a niche for its ability to transform and translate data from many different providers as it interacts with all of the major vendors. We've done sessions in this webinar series around Autodesk and around Pitney Bowes relationships, and we'll be looking at a few of the other data vendors and software houses and how SAFE and FME interact with those systems. But really, all of the major vendors are supported in both proprietary and the open source arena, to the point that there's nearly 300 data formats supported in FME for translation. Often I think that most people who come new to using FME know FME best for its translation capabilities, but it's also a very strong transforming product that can restructure your data, and I'll get into that detail throughout the session. As far as we're concerned, as I say, we've been value-added resellers for over 10 years of the FME product. And we've got a great number of certified professionals. Myself, I hold both the certified professional and certified trainer accreditations, which are accredited directly from Safe Software. And we'll provide you with a number of different services. We'll help you with your product evaluation. We're happy to help you out with consulting services. We have 4 dedicated FME training courses that we deliver both in our Cambridge office, in Australia, and also out of your own premises if required. And we also provide technical support services for the FME product. Now, I've noticed from a couple of the people that have signed in, there are some new people to me and new organisations that I'm not aware whether you've got FME or not, but that might mean that you're potentially brand new users. So FME's structure, how it actually works, is that you buy something called an FME engine, a processing tool. So you get FME Desktop and you get one engine. With FME Server, you could have one or more engines. And what that means is that all of these nodes that you can perhaps see around the outside of the screen here, all of these nodes will give you our data formats. So perhaps you want to work and read MapInfo tab format. Well, FME, as the data passes through here, knows that it can write to Esri Shape. And Esri Shape knows that it can move out to MicroStation DGN, and DGN knows that it can write to DWG, and DWG knows it can write to GML, etc., etc. So, as I say, lots of formats hanging off that processing engine. Really, the magic happens inside the engine, though, where your data can be transformed and restructured. So it's a central processing tool, and it allows you to make the most of your data and be as interoperable with other organisations that you work with as possible. When you install FME Desktop, you get a series of applications on the disk or via the download. As I say, if you want to download FME, you can go to onespatial.com/FME and get access to the FME installer. And that's the latest Service Pack 3 release, as I say, that came out just yesterday. The components that you get to install, the Universal Viewer, or more commonly referred to these days as the Inspector, allows you to take a look at all your data by literally doing a file open. So you can open up a tab file, a shape file, a DWG, a connection to your Oracle Spatial instance, a connection to maybe a table that you've got in PostGIS, and open them all in the same window at the same time without having to translate the data. The Workbench tool is the main event, really. That's where we're going to focus our attention on today's session. And this allows you to write scripts that you can reuse to process your data. The Universal Translator, or Quick Translator, is a quick way, as it suggests, of reading content and writing it straight out to the format that you need. You can also run FME on the command line, and there's also something called an FME application extender, which you can access through your utility that, if I go and show you, is tucked away down in your FME install. So if you go and have a look in your utilities, you can see that there's something called the FME integration console. This basically means that if you fire it up on your machine, you'll find out whether you've got any products that could be extended by FME. In this case, you can see I have MapInfo and ArcGIS installed, which means that I can extend those products to extend the format reach of those tools to be able to read as many formats as FME supports. So that's quite a big deal actually, and not something that many people realise is available. So we'll get down to the main topics really, some highlights of what's new in FME 2012. If you're interested in what's new, it's probably the case that you've been using FME for a little while. I'm going to bring out some of the highlights. One thing I will mention is that SAFE themselves do a series of webinars as well, and what I have done and what OneSpatial have done is try to put these webinars that we're delivering together that complement the ones from SAFE Software. So I've drawn out some slightly different capabilities than SAFE have focused on, or I've extended and discussed some of the detail a little bit differently, but hopefully you'll find this an informative session. Introducing FME 2012 is the main topic, or the main theme that they've had is all about putting together your data adventures and resolving some of your data adventures. It's really an excuse, I think, for SAFE's marketing department to come up with some interesting puns to whip your data into shape and solve your interoperability riddles. And perhaps the weakest one of them all is to unleash the power in your temple of data. But I think what this starts to show you is that really the user community that use the FME tool like to have a bit of fun with the product, but it really doesn't try to disguise the fact that FME is a very serious business tool and allows you to really make some differences to your data processing tasks. But it doesn't all have to be dull. You can do that in a fun way, and some of these splash screens that you'll see are a way of highlighting that. So, in terms of operational improvements, some of you, if you've been using FME for a little while, will know that just the smallest change to the interface can make a big difference. Back in FME 2006 GB, a capability was introduced that allowed your workflows to, once they'd completed, to pop a little value onto each connection link in your workflow to show you how many features had moved between one part of the workspace and another. Well, that was a very small change, but that means that now you can debug your workspaces by seeing how many features go into a transformer and how many come out of it. Well, just a few changes. If I just show you some of these now in a little bit more detail. If I just fire up the Workbench tool, and I'll do that by launching a workspace that I've prepared that deals with fire hotspots. So if we just maximize this screen, there is a button to take note of now, and it's F11. If you press the F11 key, you can go to full screen, which gives you complete coverage of your canvas so that you can see a little bit more, and it's actually useful for a webinar as well. If you press Shift and F11, you can drop it down so that you can see access to the drop-down menus, but it just gets rid of some of the other windows. So F11 and Shift F11 are useful buttons to be aware of. It is the case now for the last few versions that now you've got the ability to quick add, which basically means that if I just click on the canvas and start typing at the name of a transformer, like the string concatenator, if I press return, it drops it onto the screen without me having to worry about dragging or having a look at the transformer gallery and getting the content out of there. So F11's worth knowing about. I have to go back to toggle the F11 key to show you the next part, and that's that the workspace properties have been revised somewhat. Often the case in the past, sometimes you had to provide supporting documentation for a workspace. Well, it's been made a little bit easier now so that you can actually fire up the workspace properties and you can name the workspace, you can put it into a category of your own. You can see this I've put into a demo category. And then I've decided to add a little description, some usage notes, some requirements, so what I need for this process to work. So that's access to this, this feed. And also I've put some history into here so that we can know what version of FME last saved this workspace, and any legal notes that you might want to. And certainly this helps if you're distributing workspaces around an organisation, and you want to embed some of the notes that relate to the workspace within it. So that's a good thing to be aware of. The other thing I want to highlight is a capability on both the reader and writer to go and open the containing folder of where the source data is, because often you can lose where you've written data to, or where your source data is quite easily if you're not sure of what your file path is. So I'll show you how we can work with that. To begin with, though, I'm just going to show you very quickly. This is a GORSS reader, and I'm writing to KML. GORSS is just a web feed, and actually what you'll see if I just pop this link up and double click on the feed, copy it and go and drop it into something like Chrome, if we paste that URL in to Chrome, you can see the feed of data that's coming live from that XML data set. And you see there's that long information in here as well, notifying us of fire hotspots. MODIS is a satellite remote sensing set of satellites that are operated by NASA in partnership with NASA, and this is looking at fire hotspots around the globe. If I just go and show you the same feed in IE, you'll see that we're just rendering that a little bit differently, and we can see the hotspots that have been detected at what time and whereabouts they are. So we'll go and actually feed that data into FME. So we've got a GORSS reader, and what you can see is, if I zoom in a little, in fact I might even press F11, there we go, so you can see that. I'm using a transformer called an XML templater, which is very useful for working with XML, but it can also be useful if you want to work with HTML. Here I have a little bit of an HTML header and a footer, and I'm putting some FME attributes into here using the get attribute function that you can see in the left hand side of this template expression. The reason I'm working with HTML is if I write to KML, I can create a little balloon for my features and put a little bit of HTML into that window and some logos and things to make it look good. So I'm going to rename some attributes. I'm going to remove a few that I don't need anymore, and then use a KML styler to style the pins on the map with a web resource, which is a little PNG that sits out on the web somewhere. So if I just copy that and then show you what that looks like by just diving over to here, you can see that I've got a little fire symbol that I'm going to go and grab and write that into the output. So let's just write this out. Run this workspace quickly. It reads the live resource, the XML data live from the MODIS website, writes that out to KML, and I don't know where I've written it to, or I'd like to get there quickly, so I right click, open the containing folder. It takes me straight to the KMZ file that I've just written out. Fire it up, no pun intended given the topic. Zoom to the fire hotspots that we've located, and we can see we've got one over on an island here. Several in fact. Let's just dive round, and hopefully that's rendering okay over the screen. But if I zoom in a little bit, you can see those 4 hotspots have appeared, and luckily or not, as the case may be, that's over the top of a likely resource in Hawaii, and we've got a volcano. And this is where the HTML is important. You can see I've embedded the symbol in here, a description, and I've decided what font I want the detail to be applied in, and also embedded a OneSpatial logo in that connection as well. So on the little balloon. So we've got the ability to really play around with the structure of our data and locate these hotspots, and dive over to a few more over here. So we've got another one. So really just a simple workspace, but just employing a little bit of capability that's new, which is opening the containing folder. You'll notice though that I can't open a containing folder on a web resource. because that wouldn't make too much sense. But if I had a file-based or folder-based data set being read in here, I could also go and have a quick look at the source data. The only other thing that I wanted to highlight, is a real subtle difference, is you can see randomly I've included a little creator transformer here. The creator allows you to create, say, 10 random features and write them out to a visualizer in this case. You'll see me employing the creator in a number of different ways throughout some of these sessions, but here I'm just writing out 10 small features, and up pops the universal viewer to allow us to take a look at those features, and you can see that they're created with null geometry, so I need to step through the 10 that I've created. Well, one change now is that if I create no features and write out to the universal viewer, the data inspector, you'll see that the data inspector does not open up, and that wasn't the case in FME 2011 and before. If you use visualizers in these inspector transformers a lot, then it can be frustrating if you don't have anything to look at, but the visualizer forces itself open. Well, that's a change in 2012, just a very subtle change that makes your life a little bit easier when you're using it day to day. So let's just drive back to the slide deck so that you can see a little bit more. I want to show you some operational improvements that have happened in some of the dialogues, and I'll do this through taking a look at attribute management. You can see in the 2012 dialog that now you have the ability to expose certain attributes and also filter on them. Now, this is particularly useful, especially when you're working with data sets or data tables that have lots and lots of attributes, and you want to tidy up your workspace. And really, you'd only use this mechanism for tidying things up a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. So this is a small workspace that reads some map info data and a little bit of raster data. So we've got a TIFF data set down here. And you can see that if I just take a look in the user attributes, by default, you would expose and make all of your attributes available. So let's just get that set of attributes available to us. So we've got some primary school data. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And what you can see is a bunch of attributes available to me. Well, if you're not sure what attributes you've got, or you want to go and do a search, let's say you want to know if you've got some coordinate information, I can search for east and bring back easting. I might want to look for an X coordinate. Well, it turns out that this is point X. Some of this data has a point X classification. So I can do a quick search in a big list of attributes to see if an attribute exists. I can also go and remove all of the attributes and maybe just turn on the ones that I'm interested in seeing on my canvas. So you can see that they're now removed. Now, the one thing to be aware of is don't make the mistake of thinking that this has now removed those attributes. All it's doing is hiding them from your view in this workflow. So it just focuses your attention a little bit more, and it means that the subsequent transformers only list those attributes that you're interested in. But it does make a bit of a difference when you're working through your workflows. While we're here, I want to also highlight a little thing about transformer versions. So this isn't new, but it's worth knowing. In your tools and FME options, and if you go to your transformer settings, let me just check, I think it might be in the workbench. There we go, in the transformer settings, you can show the transformer version in the tooltip. Now, by default, that isn't turned on, so it's worth doing. If you turn it on, go and hover your cursor over the transformer, you can see that this transformer is version 11. FME always starts counting at 0, which means this is the 12th iteration of the bufferer transformer. And this is the one that comes along in FME 2012. If we click inside it, you can see that there is something new, and this is a bit of a preview to something I'll talk about in a little while, which is the parallel processing level. So there's some parallel processing levels which we can see, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail shortly. But the bufferer is a transformer that, funnily enough, does buffering of your data, and it's very useful and used regularly, and as you'll see, it's gone through quite a few iterations and changes over the years. Happy to field any questions on transformer versioning at the end of the session, because it's an interesting topic that is worth knowing a bit more about. There are a group of styling transformers. This PDF styler I've used to specify the fill color of some of the data that I'm writing out, because my output format is a 2D PDF, and I've chosen to write the data out into a letter page size, but we could double click it and change that to something like A4 or A3 if we wanted to for our output page size. And then we're writing the data straight out. What I'm doing a little bit further down in this workflow though is building a bounding box of my vector input data, the extents of my primary school data, and then buffering that and then dropping that into a clipper as the clipping boundary. So basically what I'm doing is reading in, and let's go and have a look. Let's go and open the containing folder, and here is some data. And the file that I'm looking for is SJ. So if I go and take that and pop it open into the universal viewer, just nudge that to one side, take the TIFF file and drop it into here. We can drag and drop with FME, and we can see that we've got a TIFF, and all we're doing is taking a small area of this data and clipping it out down in the corner here. So we've decided what the coverage is of our data, so let me just do that again. Drag and drop, and let's go and find the actual source data, which is the primary school, and I'll drag and drop this as well. So we get the raster tile, and we'll get the primary school data and drop that into the same view. And we can see that our primary school data is tucked away in a different location, and we can see a little bit of that. We've also got some points that are obscured from view at this scale over the raster data, and we're going to take that process and we're just going to run that through. So let's do that now. Okay, I'm going to write to PDF, and again we can here right click, open the containing folder, find the primary school PDF that we've just written out, and we've got here our City of London data set. So we've got a different raster data set and our primary school data, and we can turn on and off the raster boundary. So you can see we've got a 2D layered PDF. If we wanted to as well, we can go in and take a look at the structure we've got and any of the attributes, so we can find out some details about one of the primary schools and the attributes that have been written into the PDF there. So a lot of flexibility with the PDF format that it's worth knowing about, and a few changes to how FME operates there as well. Okay, so a little bit of detail about platform changes, 64-bit platform improvements. If you didn't know it, from FME 2011 there has been a separate installer available. The FME 64-bit installer is available to download. If you think you might be interested in it, drop us a note at fme@onespatial.com, and we'll help you out with why that could be useful to you. But I'll give you a little overview of it now. Firstly, you can install it on your machine at the same time as the 32-bit installer. So you can see the little screen grab showing that I've got a number of versions of FME Desktop installed on my machine at the same time. You can also see that it can get you into a little bit of trouble if you've got multiple versions of FME, because you may want to run a certain version of FME when you're running FME on the command line. If you want to do that, then you can basically go in and specify some environment variables, and I can help anybody with that who wants to do multiple FME instance running. Alternatively, you just point your process at the right FME engine that you want to run. So it's very easy to do, and happy to pick up that topic with you afterwards if necessary. So from this, what I need to go through is why it's important. Well, the one thing to be aware of is there's a bit of a health warning with the 64-bit version. Don't always assume that it's better to go for it, really. 32-bit FME actually is very good if you have a 64-bit operating system, because it means that it can get access to 4 gigabytes of RAM, whereas your 32-bit FME on a 32-bit operating system out of the box can only access half that, so 2 gig of RAM. So if you have some long-run processes that take a few hours and chew through a lot of data and use a lot of memory, or you have ever experienced memory outage problems when you've been doing heavy processing, then consider seeing if you can access a 64-bit operating system and putting your standard FME onto that build, because you'll get double the RAM accessible to your FME instance. However, if you can have access to a 64-bit operating system, then you can put 64-bit FME on it, and all the RAM that's available to you will be accessible to FME. So that's it's quite a big performance deal, really. Not always the best choice, though. I would encourage you to go and take a look at safe.com/formats, and there's a little radio group at the top there. If I just show you this website quickly, if we go to www.safe.com/formats, you can see on this web page all of the formats that FME supports, whether it reads or writes, and you can see that you can compare by platform, which means that you can see the 4 different operating systems that I'll come into in a moment, and whether you can work with a certain format on that operating system. Some of the 64-bit operating systems struggle with certain formats. Go and take a look at that URL, safe.com/formats, and also have a look on FMEpedia and search for a guide to running 64-bit FME. Of course, just email us if you want to find out more. But the one thing I want to highlight really is that FME 2012 introduces XL and Access support on Windows 64. And that really is a bit of a big deal, really. Certainly, most of us are XL or Access junkies in one way or another and need to access data in those formats. Well, in the 64-bit environment in FME 2011, unfortunately, they weren't available, but they are now. So that's the big message from this discussion. Platform support. Really, this is more important for FME server people, but it goes on a little bit from what I've just been talking about. The main platforms that you are able to work in are Windows 32 and 64, Linux 64, and Solaris on Unix for FME server. You can run some of the utilities that are available in FME, like the Quick Translator and the Data Inspector, are available on Linux, but Workbench isn't as yet. I even heard a rumour that we might be getting FME on Mac at some point in the future, but we might have to wait a couple of years for that. It's a big rewrite that is necessary. So a bit of a hot hint there, but you might have to wait a little while for that. Okay, so I'm going to change tack a little bit and start looking at format support and the new formats that have become available. If you've been using FME for a little while, you might have seen a previous version of this diagram, and really we're struggling now to start to include all the different subcategories. FME started its days really as a CAD to GIS, GIS to CAD translator. It's moved on to be able to support different types of database, whether they're non-spatial or spatial, corporate Oracle databases, or open source MySQL databases. 3D data introduced a couple of versions ago. Support for raster data really came to the fore in FME 2007. We can now support building information models. You've seen access to web resources a few moments ago with reading XML directly off the web, but we can work with web feature services or web map services. And certainly the last couple of versions have been very important for dealing with point cloud data. So lots and lots of different capabilities, and the format capabilities just keep on going up and up. Largely because every time a new product, a new bit of hardware comes out, there's probably a new data format released with it, and ultimately we're going to need to access to those data formats. So we're about at the 278 mark, and that really doesn't include I mean, that actually means that a lot of the formats in some cases are only counted as one. There's lots of different AutoCAD reader and writers, and they're only grouped into one category. So it's a lot greater than it looks actually in terms of format supports. And FME is pretty much unrivaled now for its across the market format support. Let me just highlight a few new ones that you might be interested in. I'll pop a few up on screen and pick out a couple of interesting ones. Certainly the CAT reader, the columned aligned text reader, CAT for short, is an interesting one if you've got some intriguingly structured text data that you've struggled to read in the past. That's one that's worth going and having a look at. And the other one that's very interesting and brand new is that Esri have introduced a free API to their file geodatabase capabilities. One thing that Esri are trying to do is push the file geodatabase as the shapefile of the future, and opening up the geodatabase with a free API is an interesting way of trying to do that. What this practically means is that you can now read and write file geodatabases with FME without having to have any Esri technology installed, and I'll show you that in a bit more detail in a second. You can also read and write data directly in and out of Google Fusion tables using your Gmail account, your Google account. So if you want to put data onto Google and quickly map content in Google Maps or any Google setup that you might have, then that's an interesting capability. And I'll show you towards the end of the session the ability to work with Inspire schema data, so GML that's structured and validated against the Inspire schema definition files. That's now possible, and of course point clouds in the last couple of years have become very important to a lot of people. Certainly reading and writing Oracle point clouds is now supported, as well as working with the compressed capability of LAS, LAZ being the compressed zipped up version. That's very important because it's not uncommon to have an 8 or 10 gigabyte point cloud data file, just one file. So that's a bit of a big deal, being able to work with a compressed version. This is what I mean about the file geodatabase API though. A few weeks ago I took a screen grab when I didn't have any Esri technology installed on my machine, and this shows you that by reading and searching for geodatabase, I can't read any geodatabase format because I didn't have any Esri technology installed, and there'll be two things. I either need the DLLs, the libraries that ship with ArcGIS or with Esri tools, or I actually need to go and check out an Esri license. Certainly when you're working with the geodatabase, where is it, the ArcObjects geodatabase, you need to actually go and check out an Esri license to have access to that. You can see here though that the black format here is available to me, so I can work with that file geodatabase API. So a bit of a big deal really if you need to work with Esri data and you don't have any Esri software installed. So that's a bit about new formats. Existing formats though never get left behind, they always get updated, and there's more than 40 format updates that have happened over recent months in this version. Certainly I've mentioned that a few formats have appeared now on the Windows 64 environment, and AutoCAD is no exception to that. Now Real DWG is supported on Windows 64. MasterMap, if you're interested in MasterMap from the Ordnance Survey, then that's now supports version 8, so the urban paths dataset or theme is available to you. VectorMap Local has been revised by the Ordnance Survey and is now updated in FME as well. Point cloud formats have had some performance improvements. There's been some changes in GML structure, and if you want to write TIFF files so that you can use them on a Mac, then you can certainly do that now as well. And there's really too many to list in terms of the additional changes, but if you go and have a look onto FMEpedia, there's a what's new in FME 2012 list, which will give you a much more detailed list of all the new formats that have come along or been updated. So I'm going to switch tack again. Now we've talked about formats, we're going to start talking about certainly something that's more important, I think, once you've managed to access the data, is how you can process it or transform it. So I'm going to introduce you to a few new transformers and also the FME store, which is new to FME 2012. So a whole list of brand new transformers. I'm going to let you take those in for a few moments. But whilst you're doing that, I'll highlight a few to go and check out. The Attribute Expression Renamer. The Attribute Expression Renamer adds some capability onto another transformer that exists called the Attribute Expression Remover. Attribute Expression Remover means that if you've got a bunch of attributes all with say a prefix, then you can remove all the attributes that have that prefix in one go, rather than just doing it in a conventional way using the Attribute Remover. The expression renamer I'll show you in a few minutes allows you, as it says, to rename in bulk a bunch of different attributes or do certain things to them. The color setter is a revision of some old transformers, and that's an alias name, and I'll introduce you to that topic in a little while. And I would urge you to go and take a look at the Inline Querrier. If you do a lot of feature merging, so there is a transformer called the feature merger, and there's one called the joiner, and if you do a lot of processes where you're having to join data sets together, do go and look at the Inline Querrier. There is a very good article on the FME Evangelist. If I pop that up now, let's just grab that URL. The FME Evangelist is a blog, and if you go and have a look at article 97, it tells you all about, there we go, just pop that in, it tells you all about the Inline Querrier. The Inline Querrier essentially allows you to take data and load it into a database inline. So partway through your workflow, it will be consumed into a database, and really you can then dig at that data using conventional SQL queries. So it's a very, very powerful capability. However, it does look a bit odd when you first drop it onto the canvas. So do that, put it onto a canvas, have a look at it, read the help guide, and go to article 97 of the FME Evangelist to find out a bit more. The other transformers I'll highlight and go into in a technical demo here are things like the point cloud on Raster component setter. That's very useful when you want to take LiDAR data and put some color to it, which I'll show you in a second. Raster to polygon coercer, I'll also show you, and the Sliver Remover. And let's go and do this now without too much more ado. Pop open a couple of examples here to take a look at some of these new ones. And this example is a little bit contrived, you have to forgive me, but I've constructed it so that you can see the capabilities. Here, I mentioned earlier on I was going to use the creator. Well, I've used it a bit more here. The creator is a very smart little transformer that allows you to create any bit of geometry that you want. So you don't have to go into your GIS and mock up some data first to test a capability in FME. Here you can see I've built a polygon that sits around mid-Wales for the sake of argument in the British National Grid. And I'm offsetting it and then rotating it, and I've done the same here and here, but position them together. So if I just disable these links here, I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to run that out. 3 little polygons, all fairly close to one another, and if I just change the colour so that it's a little lighter, you can see that I've got 3 separate polygons, just squares, all offset from one another. And if we zoom in a little bit, we can see there's a little gap in the middle, and the gap will become important when we take a look at the Sliver Remover in a few moments. So I've mocked up and created some data. Let's just disable those links and re-enable the links down here, which means that the data will flow down through the rest of the workspace. And I highlighted earlier on the little number count that you get to see on the connections. Well, there it is. That came in FME 2006, a good while ago now. I'm going to dissolve the boundaries together, and then I'm going to use a transformer called the color setter. Now if I just go and search for the color setter, you can see that There are some other transformers that are listed, and I'll go into that in a bit of detail in a while, but I can go and search for the colour setter and drop it onto the canvas, and you can see that if I click inside the existing one, I can use set the pen, which is the border of my polygons, and the fill using the little capability here, the little colour palette. The transformer I highlighted that was also new is the attribute expression renamer. As you can see, I can decide which attributes I want to affect, so all of them or just a few of them. Select the individual attributes through the checkbox here, or I can go and do all of them. And here you can see that I can add a string prefix, a suffix, remove a string prefix or a suffix, do a replacement using a regular expression or a conventional string replace, or do what I've done here, which is change the case to all to uppercase. So you can see that as the attributes come in, they're in mixed case. When they come out, they're uppercase. In the attribute expression renamer number 2, I've chosen to change these two attributes and use a string replace to get rid of ESS and replace that with an underscore. And you can see that that has bulk renamed these two attributes here. So I mentioned this was a little contrived, but it shows you what that can do. And then I've got a Sliver Remover at the end, and the Sliver Remover really adds to your arsenal of additional transformers that allow you to do data cleansing. So you can get rid of and tidy up a lot of capabilities with FME. For example, there is a transformer called the Spike Remover that, funnily enough, allows you to get rid of and identify where spikes are in your data. Well, the Sliver Remover allows you to deal with slivers in your data, and there's a number of different options. You can work with the longest boundary, the priority, give priority to the edge preserving or area enlarging, or do a random sliver remove. But let's actually go and have a look at what this does in practice. So I'm going to run this workflow just quickly through. So it's just this top section of the workflow that's carrying out the process, and we've got a before and after. So let's take a look at the before, and you can see that basically in the workflow I have taken two of the polygons and combined them together, dissolved the interior boundary, and my third is here. And let's go and have a look. That means that now we've got some gaps and problems in the data. Well, if I put that into the Sliver Remover and take a look at what we've done now, you can see that there is now overlap, no overlap in my data, and I've removed the sliver and the problem in my data set. So quite a nice little transformer to go and do some bulk cleanup of your data. So go and take a look at the Sliver Remover and check out what that can do for you. Okay, so let's just disable that part of the workflow. I'm going to push our attention down to the bottom part. And this isn't quite so contrived. This is potentially a real-world example of how you might want to use this new transformer, the Raster to Polygon Coercer, to carry out vectorization. I'm going to enable my raster dataset, and let's go and take a look at it. So we're bringing in that SJ file here. So we're going to go and open the containing folder, open up Universal Viewer, the data inspector, pop the SJ tile into here and take a look at it. And what we have is a coloured raster image here, and you can see that if we zoom in very far, lots and lots of pixels, and we can click on a pixel and we can get back an RGB value for each pixel. So if we pick the pink value, we've got an RGB value there that we can highlight. Now what happens is that this transformer, the Raster to Polygon Coercer, makes use of some of the attributes of each of those pixels and pops the values of important into a label attribute. Okay, so I can then, with a little bit of inspection of the type of raster data I'm working with, dive in, and here I'm using a special transformer called the attribute value mapper that says, in my new attribute called label, go and find all the 112s, the 175s, the 216s, because I know that they are labels that identify pixels that look like a trunk road or a B road, or an A road. And you can see that I've got a couple of different pixel labels that look like they're a B road. So you need to do a little bit of investigation of your data set through inspection, but once you've done that, you can categorize them, and I've created a new attribute called road class here. Calculated the area of the polygons that I've constructed, and that means that I can then throw away very small polygons. Then I've styled the output, and I'll show you the results here. So let's just run this through. So the raster to polygon coercer writes the data out. It's reading the TIFF. I'm clipping out just the bit I'm interested in, and then we'll pop open the viewer, because hopefully that'll force open in a second. And it's taking a few seconds to do that. 76%, and there we go. Okay, and here's the output. So it's just reading that in. What you can see here is if I just turn off all the layers, it's just taking a moment to refresh. There we go. So turn off all the layers except for the raster data set, and I'm going to zoom my attention in down to the bottom corner here, because that's where I'm interested in. Let's turn the coerced data set on. Let's just stop that from refreshing and zoom in again to a small area. And you can see that what I've got is lots and lots and lots of pixels for the underlying raster data, and they're grouped together based on their label value. So we can see by doing a little bit of inspection that there are some linear features in here, and if we turn off all the coerced data and turn on the A roads, you can see that I've styled the features that look like A roads. So this was raster data and now vector, so I can turn on A roads, B roads and trunk roads. And you can see that there are some artifacts that come back from the labels that were in the original raster data. But with a little bit of work you can get rid of those. You could use the centerline replacer transformer to basically go in and put center lines down these features to create more cleaner linear features. So it's an interesting transformer to go and have a play with if you want to try some basic vectorization of your data. Okay, so some new transformers there. Let's focus our attention in the closing minutes on looking at upgrades to existing transformers. More than 80 of them have been updated. The aggregator gives you the ability to go and concatenate features when you aggregate them together, so you can concatenate attributes. You can import values from a spreadsheet for your attribute renamer if you want to store attribute names in a spreadsheet or a different location. The clipper now does 3D clipping, which means you can work with LiDAR data. The duplicate coordinate remover allows you to identify problems in your data or where the duplicate coordinates are, rather than just getting rid of them. And the file name part extractor, if you haven't come across that guy, is a really useful transformer to go and get a bunch of information from the properties of your file name. You can now extract the parent name that the file sits in. There's also some capabilities added to the tester transformers. Very, very useful to search to see if an attribute exists or whether it's null or empty, and then do something when you've found that out. And that you can see is the 2011 versus the 2012 drop down menu there. If I just pop open a quick workflow to show you the difference here, just close those and just go and get rid of some of these windows here. And let's just go on, see that, does it exist? Again, a little example here with a creator, creating some postcodes and some columns, and I can test here to see if the attribute exists, and if it does, then we run this through and we can see that passes through. Now if I change this to say an attribute name like code and run that through, then we can see that in this case only one feature passes. So what you could do if you wanted to terminate your workspace if an attribute doesn't exist in a data set, then you can run it, and as soon as a feature that fails hits the terminator, the workspace closes and writes an error message, and this terminator is saying that it's aborting the translation The message is that the required column does not exist, and that's because the terminator allows you to put a message in here of your own setting. So again, just something to be aware of in one of the subtleties of FME 2012 and the changes there. Transformer alias names. Well, these are something to be aware of that are relatively new, and it's a good thing really, because it means that certainly when I deliver training courses, one of the main questions I get asked is how do I know which transformer to use next. Can sometimes be a bit of a challenge when you're searching for transformers. Well, alias names makes things a little bit simpler, because it means that as transformers change over time, you don't need to keep remembering all the transformer names. Just search for a little bit of what you think you're looking for, and you should get there when you're searching for transformers. Even if you remember old names for transformers, then you can search for the old name and still get the new transformer. And you'll see that English alias names have been provided finally, so if you were fed up of searching using American English, then things like the colour transformers now allow you to search for perhaps a more conventional way of spelling, if that's of interest to you. So let me just show you what that means by opening up a blank workspace. If I dive onto the canvas and search, for example, for the grepper transformer. The grepper transformer doesn't exist anymore, but you can see it's listed there, and it pops onto the canvas as the string searcher. If I go and search for the colour setter, if I type it using American English without the U, we can see that there are some other transformers that appear with the U included. So let's just go and have a look for the pen colour setter, so that's the American spelling. If I search with a U and put it in the right place, there we go, that always helps. Now we can see that we can still search for the pen colour setter, but actually what we get is the colour setter transformer. So the pen colour and the area fill colour setters have been replaced with a transformer that does both jobs. So alias names really helps us search for transformers, especially in time as FME and Safe Software introduce new transformers or consolidate transformers, and you can see here that the pen colour setter is the alias name for the colour setter. So it's something worth noting. Alias names are going to help you over time work with FME transformers. There have been a number of efficiencies added in. One really good topic to go and have a look at the FME Evangelist that's covered in a lot of detail, Article 96, is the use of support transformers, because it's often the case that you had to drop 5 or 6 transformers onto the canvas in order to prepare an attribute to then use it later on. Well, now you can do that all inside the single transformer using the capabilities that you'll see on the canvas here. Open String Editor opens up your concatenation capabilities. Open Arithmetic Editor opens up an expression evaluator directly within your transformer. So very, very powerful capabilities. Go and take a look at the setup now. But what that means in practice is that some transformers now, as a result, can become very capable. For example, the attribute renamer is now pretty much 8 for the price of 1. Inside the attribute renamer, you can rename, you can copy, previously done in the attribute copier, you can delete attributes, you can create an attribute, you can actually go in and set attributes, you can use a parameter fetcher, expression evaluator, and a string concatenator all inside that one transformer. So you can put one transformer in place and do 8 different types of things. You can even, using the import button that you can see hopefully on screen just there, you can import a schema from a different file as well. So you can still use all the individual transformers if you want to, but if you want to have a much tidier workspace, then you can use some of the new capabilities that have been provided here. I'd like to introduce you to the FME Store as well. The FME Store is a place that you can go to in your transformer gallery. You may need to, when you launch FME for the FME 2012 for the first time, go to your transformer gallery. You'll see the store is there. You may need to push this little refresh button, which goes away and connects to the internet and goes and populates the FME Store, and you can see that if we drop it down, there's a bunch of different categories in here. So if we go and see, there's a C-zone transformer, and there's some details about it. If I wanted to get access to a particular transformer like the point cloud density calculator, if I double click it, it goes and connects to the store and downloads that transformer and makes it available to us. So this is a brand new transformer that somebody in the user community has created, and now we can use that. Custom transformers are a big topic, but essentially they are, if I go in and edit this guy, they are workspaces embedded behind the scenes that do a particular task. So a series of transformers that carry out a set of functions that you can then tidy up into one little unit tool to use. And previously these were all accessible on FMEpedia, and quite a lot of them now have been added into the FME Store to be available to you. Let's just close that workspace. Transformers are available, custom formats, and some more templates that are available and accessible directly through Workbench. You can download them. You can go to a dedicated website to go and see what's available. So I encourage you to go and have a look at fmestore.safe.com to go and see what's available. If you want to become a contributor, like many organisations, including OneSpatial, then you need to sign a store agreement with Safe Software, which basically allows you to get access to publish your transformer to the store. But it means that if you've got something that's very useful that you've built for an internal process, like the UK postcode validator that we have built, you can publish it, and you can either charge for the transformer, make it available with a license, or you can make it available for free. We've done this with the UK postcode validator. Go and have a look at safe.com/FME Store for a little bit more detail, but you can actually go to that and download that transformer, and I'll just go and show you quickly where you'd get it in Workbench. You can see, if you go and have a look in the navigator or on the canvas, you can either type UK, and there you'll see the transformer available to you, or you can go into the store and you'll see our OneSpatial directory there, and the transformer again available with a lot of detail about how it works. Basically, if you want access to that, you can download it here and then just email us at fme@onespatial.com, and we'll send you a license file to use it. If it's of interest to you, what it will allow you to do is evaluate and basically validate a UK postcode, so to the BS 7666 standard, making sure that all the letters and numbers that are supposed to be in the right place are in the right place. It will also do quite a bit of analysis of the postcode to try and help you find out where the problem might be in your data set. So I'll just pop up some common issues. You can see that the validator will tell you not only where the problem is, but what it might be. So you can see here, these postcodes are valid as identified, but the spaces are all in the wrong place. So if it's a valid syntax, then our transformer will put the space in the right place for you and tell you it's valid. In some of these cases, and there's 9 different examples that it will check for you, you can see that this issue here, SYY7RW, has the transformer has encountered an issue with the first part of the postcode string. So there's a problem with the SYY part of the transformer of the postcode, because the second Y there is supposed to be a number. Obviously, if you have a postcode that has the word Dave in it, well, that's probably a problem, and there's only alphabetic values in that postcode string. So it's a useful transformer to go and have a play with and get access to through the FME Store. So just to finish up a couple of brief sessions, I'm conscious of time, so I'll race through the last few sections here to take a look at speed. Speed, well, FME will always get faster because the chief exec of Safe Software said that they won't release FME unless it is faster than the last version on the same hardware that it was tested on. Certainly for long run processes, FME is so that's Workspace is greater than 10 seconds, which some of you might think is not much of a long run, but certainly I've run FME processes for a number of days, and if you can get it any faster, then it makes a big deal. So about 15%, 14-15% faster for long runs, and really overall about 20% faster. So that's a bit of a big deal, really. I mentioned multi-processing. A number of transformers have been beefed up with multi-processing capabilities. Again, some good FMEpedia articles on this topic in detail. But what this means is that you now have, for a series of transformers, minimal, moderate, aggressive and extreme capabilities. I was quite disappointed the Canadians didn't introduce awesome and gnarly, but that really means that what we've got is a good set of new capabilities for these transformers. So I'll leave those up on screen for a moment. What you can see, these are the heavy lifters, the guys that do the work. So the clipper transformer, the buffer transformer that you use regularly, the polygon builder. All these transformers are used regularly in heavy lifting processes, and now what it means is that you can essentially spawn mini processes. So what this means is that you can make use of hardware that has more than one core in it. So this gets a bit technical, but if you're interested, go and have a look at the FMEpedia article on this multi-processing capability. It means that if you change the setting in those transformers, then you can use, for example, all of the cores that you have available to you. So if you set to moderate, then you can use all the cores. If you set to minimal, then you can use your cores divided by 2. Aggressive and extreme, well, extreme doubles the number of cores that you've got, so it starts up twice as many processes as you have cores. So there are caps based on the version of FME that you've got, but this is a big topic that I just want to quickly highlight to you. Basically, you need to be able to group up your data. So the best example I can probably give you is postcode areas. If you can group your data by postcode areas or by geography, then you can use multi-threading to work on your data. And certainly some of the examples that we've tested data with mean that you can get double the performance or 4 times the performance with some of the raster processes, which makes a bit of a big deal, really. So happy to talk about that in more detail after the session, or via the email address we gave you, fme@onespatial.com. And then I'm just going to finish up by looking at XML and some of the XML formats. A lot of work has gone into working with XML in FME 2012. So I mentioned before, vector map district has now got a reader. Well, that's just an XML format, which is GML. And there is also an XML or Inspire reader now. So if I go and show you some Inspire data that I have written out with FME, so I've constructed a process to write out some Inspire data, and here's a sample in GML, Inspire conformant protected sites data, so using the protected sites theme from Annex 1 of Inspire. If I dive open to my Universal Viewer and go and drag and drop my GML data into the window, it automatically identifies that it's Inspire schema. Click on the parameters, I can go and have a look at what parameters are available to me, and then just go and open up that protected sites themed data, as I say, from Annex 1. So we can zoom in, and here we've got some sites of special scientific interest and all of the Inspire attributes or elements in that data set. So it's just a little something to whet your appetite. We're doing an Inspire session in a much more detailed session in the coming weeks. When working with XML though, really FME has been changed quite a significant amount to make very complex XML very easy to read. You can see, for example, that one example I'm giving here is that the Department for Transport issues a data format called trans exchange. Well, I'm not going to show you in too much detail how that works, but the trans exchange format is just XML. I can show you that I've written a very simple workspace that allows us to process that trans exchange data. So there's the trans exchange data set. If I pop that workflow open, the key thing is that when we read in XML data, what we can do now is specify the elements that we want to match and draw out, and draw those out as individual feature types. So the bus stops and the bus routes that I want, that I have nested in my workflow, I can bring out and write those out into some output data. So I can run this process and write the data out. So I read in some XML, and using the 2D point replacer and the point connector, I can go and extract the bus routes and the individual bus stops, and you can see those bus stops and also the bus stops by classification. So I've got some different bus stops based on the classification in the data set. So using the enhanced XML reading capabilities and all of the extra XML transformers that have come along in FME 2012, so go into the classification, go and have a look in the different categories, and you'll see that there's a bunch of different XML transformers that are new to FME 2012 that can really help you work with your XML data. Okay, so just to close then, a little look at point clouds and the increased flexibility that you have with point cloud data, greater performance and flexibility. I mentioned 3D clipping is now possible, so you can see a little before and after there of 3D clipping to remove some of the surface features to get a more of a terrain rather than a surface model. This is an example of extracting features from point cloud data. Certainly the reflection value that bounces off using the LiDAR data means that we can pick up colors, so we can here extract white lines or yellow lines. So traffic regulation orders directly can be extracted from images or LiDAR data, and as a result we can create vector data using FME. So this is that example. We can work with 3D point clouds and visualize them in the FME data inspector. If I just show you in your start bar when you install FME, you get something now called the FME data inspector, which is here. So we've been using the viewer, the universal viewer. The data inspector allows you to view 3D data. Okay, so if you launch that, you can use and view 3D data. So we're just going to dive back and show you that you can take raster data and you can put that onto your LiDAR data as well if you wish to. So you can use that new transformer I highlighted earlier on. So I'd like to thank you all for attending this session. We have run over time by about 10 minutes, so I apologise for that. But here's some resources that you can go and get access to find out a bit more about FME. Go to onespatial.com/FME or drop a note to fme@onespatial.com to find out more. Get an evaluation license, comment on this training. We can give you some details about some of our FME training classes that we run that are formal classroom sessions. Or if you want to find out a bit more about the UK postcode validator, you can also drop us a note at that email address. I've talked about FMEpedia quite a bit in this session, and certainly the Evangelist blog posting. You can also go to YouTube and go and have a look at the FME channel. So go and search for FME channel on YouTube and you'll find posts from me or posts from Safe Software themselves to access some of the movies. And we've recorded this session, so if you want to check back and take a look at this recording at any point in the future, you can do as well. So thank you all very much. There's my contact details. I hope this session has been useful to you.